is always going to equal this. Or this plus this is always going to equal this. So I made a previous video before on manifesting using water, and it was based off of the studies of Dr. Emoto. And just to recap, Dr. Emoto was a scientist who studied water. And what he did is he had people take a cup of water and to think, hate, and negative thoughts at the water, directed at the water. And then what they would do is they would freeze the water, and then they would use a microscope to examine the molecular structure of the water. Then they would also take positive and loving thoughts directed towards the water and do the exact same thing. And what they found was the molecular structure of the exact same water was totally different based on the energy and consciousness that was infused with it. So the energy and consciousness directed at water was literally manifesting either chaos or positivity. And we'll have it flash up on the screen so you can see the difference between the two ways of the exact same water. And you might say, well, what does that have to do with money? Well, it has everything to do with money because it's very simple. You are approximately 70 to 75% water. And every single person in the entire world that you might receive money from or give a service to is also 70% water. So what those studies prove is the water that you're drinking is actually influencing the way that your energy and molecular structure is. If it's influencing that, as you're drinking the water, you are actually influencing who you are and the energy signals that you are sending out. So what's so imperative to understand is psychologists say that you have 65,000 thoughts in a day, and that 90 to 95% of them are negative, unconscious thoughts, that it's almost all negative and unconscious. So water is something that you're doing many times throughout the day, right? So every time you're drinking it, the way that we're conditioned is to think negativity, fear, or anxiety into the water, to infuse that. Then that water is making up 70% of who you are, and on an unconscious level, no matter how hard you're trying to create the life that you want, you've set up a signal through yourself and your body which is predominantly water-based. So what I started doing once I understood this, the impact of this discovery, was that every single time that I would drink water, I'd either, and I made in a previous video, focus on gratitude or good things coming. Or I would do an experiment and I would focus on prosperity and financial success coming to me. And so what I invite you to do is to actually, every time you're drinking water, to give appreciation for that water, but to say this: I'm thankful that this is creating more financial abundance in my life. Or I'm grateful that this flow of money is ever increasing in my life. So as you're drinking it, I'm grateful that this flow of money is ever increasing in my life. And what you're doing is you're signaling to the water, which is 70% of our creation. You're signaling to that water that's 70% of who you are. You're signaling to that you're grateful that the flow of water, right? The flow of water is always moving. And that the flow of the money and the abundance in your life is always moving as well. And you might say, well, this sounds crazy or this sounds silly. But just understand and look at the basic science behind that. You're 70% water. Your thoughts are actually influencing the way that water crystallizes. And thus, it has to be impacting you. And if you're drinking water, then what you're doing is you're creating 70% of who you are. Infuse that water with the energy of abundance and the appreciation that this water is symbolizing the flow of more money coming into your life. You will be amazed at what you create because you're impacting the very energy that you're radiating out.